Okay, welcome everyone to the first session of the NerveCenter Model Club. What we're really going to do today and going forward on a periodic basis, we intend to do these sessions to show some different uses, some extended uses of NerveCenter. What I want to show today is, as we said in the beginning, or in the invite I should say, an extended use of NerveCenter. So what we're showing today is the ability to do something other than polling an SNMP object. So what we're going to do is, in this case, test a website. Now, in order to do that, we needed to add a Perl module. In this case, it was HTTP Lite. Now, the reality is HTTP Lite is already packaged with NerveCenter, but many of you may not know that. Since version 5, we were actually including in NerveCenter the ability to add your own Perl modules, and we did in fact add some additional ones ourselves as part of the install bundle. Basically, in this case, using HTTP Lite, the documentation for that Perl module can be found on a number of Perl sites, one of which happens to be CPAN, which is a very good set of Perl documentation. So in this case, what we did was add HTTP Lite, and I'll show you the actual model. The model itself is not exactly anything phenomenal. The fact that we're doing something non-SNMP is really what we're demonstrating here. So basically, this is the model itself, and what we're doing is testing for a ping first to make sure the box itself is up and running, and then we are actually going out and using a Perl subroutine to do the test. Now, we could, of course, use a poll to do it as well, and in fact, the model we're going to supply to everyone is going to be a combination of both. One that just does the poll, another that does a ping first and then fires a Perl subroutine. So let's take a quick look at the subroutine, and you can see what we did here. And basically, it's pretty simple. We're defining that we're using HTTP Lite, and that we're defining our website as a $node name, which means we can set up a property group for websites or servers with websites on them. And then really all we're doing here is every HTTP server has the ability to do a query for status, and that status can take the form of a number of different responses. Most of the time it's something in the form of OK. So here we're looking for an OK, ignoring case. In some cases it says, you need to log in, you need authorization, which means the website's okay. It's asking for a login. In some cases it's posting other messages about documents or a redirect or something of that nature, but you can plug in any statuses you want here and account for them. And then if you're not getting any of those statuses, you fire the trigger that there's a problem and take it from there. We do basically the same thing within a poll, and in this case it's really the exact same concept, but within a poll as opposed to a Perl subroutine. So what we're really demonstrating here is the fact that with a Perl subroutine or a poll, it does not have to go out and query an SNMP table. As you can see here, we're not defining a base object at all. We're saying there's no base object, and we can still set up our interval, in this case 30 minutes. We're polling to look for an OK quote status on the website. So let's fire up this model. It actually is running, and take a look at another aspect here. Let's close that. As you can see, we do have a few sites here. One of them is an internal a couple of our own website, and we're testing Yahoo website. I have another machine out here that has a website running on it, but it is turned off. So let's go ahead and manage this device and watch what happens. Look at that. I just got a notification from NerveCenter that my website is not responding. Here's another example of a use of a Perl module and a different way of notifying someone that there is a problem within the environment. What we've done here is there's a Perl module out there that will access Yahoo IM, and that's really what we did here. We used a Perl module and a Perl subroutine that simply sends a message to Instant Messenger. Again, let's take a look at that. And what we have here is pretty simple. We've used the Perl module. We're defining that we're using it. We're setting up the information, the login, and passing a message to it. Again, we're going to include all of these for download to everyone, on the webinar, and well, anyone that comes in later as well. So, adding a Perl module. Some of you may be asking, well, gee, how do I do that? I'm sure many of you, maybe do know. Maybe some of you have different mechanisms for adding Perl modules to a Perl environment. In this case, like I said, since version 5, we've included the full, complete Perl environment, and there is, in fact, the ability to use something like CPAN, for instance, as one example. And I'll actually go ahead and show you the CPAN mechanism real quick here. I see someone had a question, and the question was, will we include the model for import? And in fact, the answer is yes. We're going to include the two versions of this model, one being the Perl subroutine version and the other being the poll version, as examples. And again, obviously, as NerveCenter users, you can modify that. You don't have to use the status. You can look at content on a web page. You can look at, you could even test logging into the website to test the authentication. There's a number of things you could do. What I'm going to do is go ahead and minimize my NerveCenter environment client. And here we have our IM message. I'll go ahead and open up a window with a nice big font so everybody can see it, and show you that how to use CPAN to add a module. Again, some of you, I'm sure, already know this, but there could be others that don't. I'm just going to show this is the command you run to access the CPAN shell, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, entering the shell. Oh. Here we go. What is this? Jumping between different machines, sometimes it there we are. Okay, we are in the CPAN shell. Basically, you can use this to look for Perl modules. If you have a keyword or something like Yahoo, for instance, we can look for a Perl module just by doing an I and looking for it that way. You can also go out to the CPAN website, for instance, and search. It's just www.cpan.org, and I can search for a module, and I can type in, for instance, Yahoo, and do a search and find that lots of Perl modules having to do specifically with Yahoo, one of which is, of course, the IM one that we selected. All the documentation, will be out there, and I can go ahead and take a look at that one in particular, but, I think you get the idea. In this case, it gave us a list of everything having to do with Yahoo that exists on CPAN. To do an install of a Perl module, it's pretty difficult. You type install once you found the module you're interested in, and the name of the module you want to enter that you want to install. Now, granted, there are some caveats to this. We can't guarantee that every Perl module is going to work with NerveCenter. You also, in some cases, need a compiling environment. So on Linux, it's generally not an issue. It's often part of the product. With things like Windows and such, it could be an issue. Certainly, Solaris has usually you can put a compiler on there pretty easily as well. If it's a pure Perl module, then you shouldn't have a problem. We've also seen that if you happen to run NerveCenter on a 32-bit 64-bit architecture, the Perl environment is actually a 32-bit, as is NerveCenter itself, and some of the Perl modules may not work well with because of the architecture differences. But I personally have tried a number of different Perl modules and found that they work quite well. Granted, not all of them are going to work for various reasons, but it's a great way to extend the functionality and capability of NerveCenter. Here we've demonstrated you can use a query of a website that is completely a non-SNMP query within a poll or a subroutine. And then we've actually shown that we can add a whole new notification capability by adding a Perl module for Instant Messenger. Again, we're going to continue doing this, talking about different ways to use NerveCenter, ways of extending and getting more value out of the product. What we're really trying to do is open everyone's eyes and imagination to the fact that you can use NerveCenter for things that are beyond just SNMP, ICMP. We asked another question about, can we use an array of website names in a model instead of just using node and node name. And again, anything you can do in Perl, you can do within a Perl subroutine and within a poll. And of course, you could go against proxies. So if there are no other questions or comments or anything of that nature, we'll go ahead and end the session and keep on model building. And again, any feedback or comments, emails, calls, whatever, we're ready to hear and help you to get more value from NerveCenter. And that's about it. Everybody have a good rest of the day.